Good morning, everyone. I call to order the May 2025 meeting of the Special Committee on Student Affairs of the University of Minnesota's Board of Regents. Thank you to all that are joining in person as well as online. I will note we have Regents for Halen and Farnsworth joining online, and we expect another Regent to be joining us in person very shortly. I also want to welcome our student representatives, Representative Taiwo Aremu from the Twin Cities campus, as well as Representative Pete Smith from the Twin Cities campus as well. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to your input and discussion. With that, we'll turn to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is system-wide student activities for discussion. For this presentation, I'd like to welcome up George Brown, Associate Vice Provost and Director of Recreational and Wellness on the Twin Cities campus, a new friend, together with an old friend, Jenny Eltink, Director of the Kirby Student Center on the Duluth campus. And to tee up this conversation, I will pass it over to Vice President Phillips.
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya and Vice Chair Farnsworth, as well as members of the committee. In this first presentation, members of the committee will learn about student engagement activities on all 5 of our campuses. At first mention, you might think of student activities as the fun and games that provide students with free food, small trinkets, and t-shirts. While we certainly offer many opportunities that spark joy, our students' activities are much more than bingo and trivia, although students do enjoy these things. Today's presentation will provide information about the breadth and depth of activities offered for all students and the value and the benefits of this type of engagement. I'd like to highlight just one benefit that I feel is important to note. Having a robust menu of activities available to students sets a campus like ours apart from our peers. Most importantly, our considerations for students during the admission decision-making process. Joining me for this presentation are George Brown, Assistant Vice Provost for Student Affairs and Director of University Recreation and Wellness Center on the Twin Cities campus, and Jenny Eltink, Director of this Kirby Center on the Duluth campus. With that introduction, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Jenny.
Thank you, Vice President Phillips, Chair Kenyanya, Vice Chair Farnsworth, and members of the committee. Let's begin with a quick definition of what we mean when we talk about student activities. Student engagement opportunities are optional activities outside the classroom and outside students' academic programs that provide students with a chance to meet others with similar interests, to explore things that are important to them, to develop leadership skills, and to develop deeper connections to their campus. There are as many different ways to engage in student activities as there are features of each UMN campus, whether it is campus traditions like Agorama at UMC, pictured here celebrating its 50th anniversary, student organizations like the 8-Count Dance Club at UMR, recreation programs like whitewater kayaking in the UMD pool, or partnerships between UMM Recreation and their library, or fraternity sorority life at UMTC, or student employment on all 5 of our campuses. Student activities span all aspects of well-being, belonging, and student success. The research on the importance of student activities goes back to the 1950s, with each era becoming increasingly more specialized in terms of student demographics. Research on all types of students from all backgrounds consistently shows that participation in student activities have positive academic, social, and interpersonal outcomes. Students who are involved on campus outside the classroom are more likely to persist from their first to second year as undergraduates, graduate students, and professional students, and are more likely to finish their course of study and successfully graduate. They're more likely to report a sense of belonging on their campus, whether that's fewer than 1,000 students or over 50,000 students, and to be able to demonstrate the skills that employers are looking for. Student mental health and well-being are deeply connected to students feeling like they have a support network on campus, and students who are involved feel a deeper connection to the communities in which their campuses are located. The university experience for all students involves significant time, effort, and financial resources. We're happy to share that in addition to all the positive outcomes we've talked about here, students who engage in student activities are also significantly more likely to state that they're satisfied with their college experience. No small thing in a state with a shrinking college-age population and where alumni support is essential. It's vital to all of us who work in student activities and student engagement that we're offering the right opportunities for student engagement and that students are satisfied with what we're offering and how it's done. The Student Wellbeing Institutional Support Survey, or SWIS, is a measure of how well students think we're supporting their well-being. It's direct feedback on our array of program offerings, campus resources, and institutional encouragement to use them, and opportunities to experience new things and interact with diverse others. Morris, Duluth, and Twin Cities administered the SWIS in 2021 and 2023, and key results are shared with you in the docket materials. You'll see that students' perceptions of support for well-being in key areas is strong, and that students are generally satisfied with the opportunities available to them, with anywhere from 70% to 90% of students agreeing or strongly agreeing that their campuses are doing well in providing events, programs, and resources to support well-being and student engagement. Knowing that students are always looking for ways to link their classroom experiences with their life outside of class, we're especially proud that more than 3 in 4 student respondents say that their campus encourages them to make these connections. While sometimes we want students to find community in smaller groups, campus traditions are designed to bring the whole campus together. The y'all come nature of events like Spring Jam at UMTC, the Circle of Indian Nations Association Powwow at UMM, the Beaker Awards at UMR, and the Bulldog Scramble at UMD, pictured here, mean that students and their campus communities have a meaningful shared experience that sets the tone for the year, highlight what makes each campus unique, and create shared memories that continue into the alumni future. More so than any other type of student activity, campus traditions also bring together staff, faculty, undergraduate and graduate and professional students, community, and alumni to make these major events happen. Often spanning days or even weeks, campus traditions become part of the shared story of what it means to be an eagle, a bulldog, a cougar, a raptor, or a gopher. For students, by students is the best way to describe student organizations. A group of students with a common interest or purpose, banding together to connect one another, learn from one another, and support one another. With roots all the way back to student debating societies in the 1800s, student organizations are the oldest expression of student activities in higher education. Our campuses work to make starting up and running student organizations as simple as possible so that students can lean into their passions. Across all 5 UMN campuses, support for student organizations is based on a something for everyone philosophy. If it doesn't already exist and students want to make it happen, let's do it. For example, the Asian Pacific American Association, APAA, has existed at UMD for more than 35 years. But when students realized that they also wanted to celebrate Hmong identity and heritage, Hmong Living in Unity and Balance, known as LU, was created. Later, South Asian students created the South Asian Student Organization, or SASO. Creating new student organizations doesn't dilute the older ones. It just provides additional nuance and more opportunities for students to connect. The best thing about student organizations is that membership in every student organization is open to every student on that campus. Students can find and explore student organizations in a multitude of ways, via student activities fairs, online in our student group events calendars and org management systems, and through personal conversations and referrals. Student organizations put on literally thousands of events each year across our 5 campuses, enriching the fabric of the student experience outside the classroom. There is truly something for everyone, and our goal is to help every student who wants to participate find their org. I'd also like to refer you to the docket materials for more information on the different types and classifications of student organizations, links to explore each campus's array of student groups, and more.
Recreation programs across the University of Minnesota campuses offer vibrant, inclusive opportunities designed to serve and uplift our communities. These programs are thoughtfully crafted to support the health and well-being of all students, welcoming everyone, no matter their background, experience, or physical ability. More than just a pathway to physical fitness, University Recreation introduces students to experiences that enhance mental and social well-being. Whether it's through intramural sports, sport clubs, fitness services, these programs create spaces where students can learn skills, build confidence, foster teamwork, and most importantly, have fun and make meaningful connections. Sport club participants represent the university with pride and passion, often earning recognition for both their club achievements and their role in building campus spirit and traditions. Meanwhile, programs like Outdoor Recreation and Adventures invite students to explore Minnesota's beautiful natural landscapes, offering a refreshing break from campus life and a deeper appreciation for the outdoors. Beyond student offerings, the university also engages local communities through youth programs, camps, and aquatic activities, reflecting a broader commitment to wellness and connection. On the Twin Cities campus, the growing popularity of the University of Minnesota Golf Course is another testament to how recreation can build strong, lasting relationships within the university. At the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, Recreation and Wellness, or RecWell, programs are an integral part of campus life, welcoming more than 1.2 million visits each year to the Minneapolis and St. Paul facilities. It's especially heartening to see that 83% of students living in university-operated housing, many of them first-year students, make use of these spaces. The early and enthusiastic participation is a powerful foundation for building healthy, lifelong habits. The University of Aquatic Center hosts over 40 events annually, ranging from local swim meets to prestigious regional and national competitions. RecWell is proud to collaborate closely with Gopher Athletics, most recently serving as the home for the Big Ten and the NCAA Swimming and Diving Championships. Supporting student well-being is at the heart of what RecWell does. In partnership with Boynton Health, RecWell offers a variety of mental health and wellness programs, including the popular Let's Talk drop-in counseling sessions and the much-loved Pet Away Worries and Stress events, both designed to provide students with meaningful, accessible support. Complementing learning, there are nearly 20 academic courses held in RecWell facilities, many offered by the kinesiology department, where students can earn credit while exploring activities like climbing, martial arts, cricket, and even pickleball. RecWell is consistently seeking innovative programming. Recently, racquetball courts have been transformed into indoor climbing training centers, while also completing the finishing touches on a brand new esports lab. The lab, which opens this fall, will support competitive varsity level gaming, intramural tournaments, and academic courses offered through kinesiology. You're all invited to dust off your game controllers and try out a game of Madden football or Rocket League. RecWell is more than a gym. It's a welcoming space where students can grow, connect, and thrive. At the University of Minnesota Duluth, the Recreational Sports and Outdoor Program, RSOP, is all about connecting people with the incredible natural beauty of the region. Whether it's hiking, paddling, or simply exploring the outdoors, RSOP continues to see growing interest in its outdoor recreation trips and rental programs, helping more students and community members get outside and enjoy all that northern Minnesota has to offer. In addition to their inviting and exciting on-campus facilities, RSOP proudly manages 3 popular waterfront locations that are favorite spots for outdoor adventure and relaxation alike. UMD sport clubs are thriving. Not only are more students getting involved, but the very first Sport Club Giving Day was a huge success, raising nearly $19,000 to support these passionate communities. Duluth families love RSOP's Kid Rocks youth camps, which have become a beloved summer tradition with over 1,000 young participants. These camps are full of energy, creativity, and a kind of hands-on learning that leaves a lasting impact. One of the most exciting additions at UMD is the Flow Pump, a fun and innovative feature that comes to life during the revitalization of their nearly 70-year-old pool. This unique offering gives people a safe and engaging way to experiencing moving water, helping them build important lifelong water skills and safety in a setting that's both educational and fun. RSOP invites board members to grab a board and catch a wave. RSOP is proud to offer programs that inspire, empower, and bring the community closer to nature and to each other. At the Crookston campus, University Wellness and Recreation is all about creating fun, connection, and community through activity. Students enjoy a variety of intramural sports like volleyball and basketball, along with newer favorites such as cross-net volleyball, spike ball, and even broom ball, bringing a fresh energy to campus life. The Wellness Center continues to be a popular hub with more than 500 members, most of them students, making it the go-to place for fitness and friendship. At the Morris campus, thanks to the successful joint powers agreement, the center is a shared space for both campus and community, offering access to fitness and recreation, some even 24/7. Usage is nearly equally split among UMM students, faculty, staff, and local residents, showing how well this collaboration serves everyone. The Big Cat Stadium is another great example of shared purpose, hosting a mix of Cougar athletics, high schools, and recreational sports through this strong joint agreements. And Morris Recreation keeps things creative and fun with unexpected offerings like laser tag held in none other than a section of the university library. At the Rochester campus, a favorite event is the De-Stress Fest, held on the last day of instruction each fall and spring semester. This campus-wide collaboration includes the Office of Student Wellbeing, Student Activities, the Center for Flourishing Healthcare Communities, UMR's One Stop, and UMR faculty. During De-Stress Fest, students are invited to take a break, enjoy lunch, relax through a variety of activities in the student lounge. Stations featuring the calming properties of medicinal plants, as well as massage chairs, yoga, aromatherapy, therapy dogs through passivity, art and creative spaces, musical instrument stations, and even the One-Stop Pause and Prosper wheels. Across all campuses, these programs reflect a shared commitment to student health, happiness, community, providing spaces where students can move, connect, and thrive. As these next pictures show, and at Crookston, one of this year's standout moments was the formation of a new club volleyball team. 10 dedicated students came together to compete in their conference tournament season this spring, and the passion showed in every aspect of the club, from ordering uniforms and managing social media to organizing travel and fundraising through events, donors, and apparel sales. It's entirely student-led, and that's the spirit of ownership and teamwork that's truly special. Over on the Morris campus, the Cougar Fitness Center is the host site for the swimming portion of the much-loved and anticipated 10-man triathlon, a springtime tradition that brings together the triathlon community for a fun and spirited kickoff to the season. At Rochester, wellness takes center stage as the Student Life Center. Here, health, wellness, and recreation partners with Health Source Solutions to bring intramural activities and wellness services to students throughout the year. Fraternity and sorority life is a popular and valued part of campus culture, offering students a strong sense of community, lifelong friendships, and opportunities to grow as leaders. Through shared values of service, leadership, and connection, students involved in Greek life develop skills that stay with them well beyond graduation. On the Twin Cities campus, students can choose from 52 chapters, home to a thriving community of 2,800 members. Of those, 35 chapters offer off-campus housing, providing spaces where members can live, learn, and grow together. On the Duluth campus, there are 9 active chapters with about 250 members, all housed right on campus, creating a close-knit, supportive environment. Service is at the heart of Greek life, and both the Twin Cities and Duluth communities show incredible dedication to giving back. At UMD, all 9 fraternity and sorority chapters take part in the annual Duluth Polar Plunge, raising funds for Special Olympics Minnesota. Every member is encouraged to participate and fundraise, and their collective efforts really shine. In February of 2025 alone, UMD's Greek life community raised an impressive $26,212 for the cause. In the Twin Cities, the Beta chapter of Pi Kappa Alpha, or PIKE, has built a powerful and lasting partnership with Firefighters for Healing, an organization that supports burn victims, their families, and first responders. Each fall, PIKE members organize the Fire Drill event, a fundraising and awareness campaign that brings attention to burn recovery and raises money for holiday gifts. With the funds they raise, the PIKE team up with local firefighters to shop for, wrap, and personally deliver presents to patients in the Hennepin County Medical Center burn unit, bringing goodwill, joy, and support to families during the holiday season. Across all campuses, fraternity and sorority members are creating meaningful change, forming lifelong bonds, and making a real difference in their communities.
Across all University of Minnesota campuses, nearly 8,000 undergraduate students are actively engaged in student employment, gaining more than just a paycheck. Many of these roles are intentionally designed to weave in valuable career-building experiences, helping students develop skills they'll carry into and positively impact their future careers. On the Twin Cities campus, Student Unions and Activities has been at the forefront of this effort, with over 20 years of survey data showing how student employment can support career readiness. The Morris campus is next to pilot a program using the National Association for Colleges and Employers framework to guide development in areas like communication, problem solving, conflict resolution, and risk management. At the Duluth campus, the Kirby Student Center uses the Iowa GROW, Guided Reflections on Work, program to help student employees connect their current experiences to future career skills. The impact of student employment on the UMN campuses can't be overstated. At UMTC Recwell and Student Unions and Activities alone, more than 1,000 part-time student employees help power daily operations, and the commitment to students is clear. Over half of the department's annual budgets are returned directly to students as wages. In total, student employees in the Twin Cities receive $4.5 million in financial support from the Office of Student Affairs. Across many campuses, student development outcomes and integrated learning measures help track and support each student's growth, not just as workers, but as emerging professionals and leaders. These experiences are more than just jobs. They're stepping stones to the future. And as we learn more about what students need and what helps them to succeed, student activities and student engagement continues to evolve. A key next step for student activities across the UMN system is to make the implicit explicit, to be upfront with students, families, and supporters, and faculty and staff about the key role of student activities as a driver of student well-being and student success. As research demonstrates how important students' sense of belonging is in retaining and graduating students, we are partnering with colleagues across our campuses to develop personalized and targeted offerings for students to find their people and find their place. We're developing additional collaboration to enhance what students learn in their classes, creating new campus traditions with students, and building on existing ones, and improving an already robust anti-hazing efforts to ensure that our campuses are safe for all who participate in student activities. Throughout it all, we'll continue to be guided in our efforts by student feedback. Students are at the heart of what we do and are the reason we do what we do. We would be nothing without them, and they are everything to us. This concludes our presentation. Chair Kenyanya, Vice Chair Farnsworth, and members of the committee. As seen on our last slide, we've offered a few questions to guide our discussion. We also welcome any questions or reflections you may have from the information we've shared with you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Associate Vice Provost Brown, Director Elting, for teeing up this important conversation, and more importantly, for doing the work, for working in this area. We'll turn over to discussion. I have some thoughts, but we'll defer to my colleagues, and also we'll defer to the student representatives to begin our discussion. Yes, Regent Mayron.
Thank you. Thank you for, first of all, wonderful presentation, but substantively, it is incredible when you see this all gathered together in one place about the breadth of our offerings at the different campuses. On this section, and when we get to the next section about career development, all I can reflect on is none of this was present when I was an undergrad here.
You turned out all right.
Back in a previous century. So it is remarkable, and creating all of these entry points and opportunities for people to connect in such a large campus I think is absolutely critical to their experience and retention, graduation. One thing I think might be helpful to think about in terms of, as you're gathering data and looking at it, is the impact on alumni after they graduate. Then how do they stay connected to the university? Is there a way to measure their alumni involvement? Because at least my experience, and I think this is true, the more you love your institution, the more you're willing to get involved with it post-graduation, whether it's through service to the university or monetary contribution or all of the above. And I think that's really important for us to know. We knew that as a board back in the mid-90s when I was chair of the Alumni Association, that if our students didn't have a good experience, the Alumni Association they weren't going to join the Alumni Association, they weren't going to serve the university, and if the foundation or its counterpart was going to look for contributions, they weren't going to have heartstrings to pull on. So I think measuring some of that post-graduation alumni activities would be important as well.
Any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Kenyanya and Regent Myron. I know that some of that is being tracked and measured. I can speak specifically to the Duluth campus. We do have information going all the way back to the 1950s on who some of our student leaders have been, and we continue to sort of provide that information. And so one of the things that we've been working on is making sure that when we are communicating through the alumni office, through the advancement office, through Kirby Student Center, through Rec Sports outdoor program, that we're acknowledging those specific experiences that people have had. So the Sport Club Giving Day was specifically targeted to alumni of Sport Club participation. And so we're thinking about how we do that more broadly, to your point on that. So, do we know what students also are engaged in community service and volunteerism? I know that we've got great records both at the Twin Cities campus and at UMD about fraternity and sorority life participation back. And oftentimes we see students who, yes, are saying, I graduated in this particular major, but my love and the experience I think most of when I think about my education was in this particular student activity or this particular experience. And I think you're absolutely right that we want to be engaging students not just in their, what college they graduated from or their major, but also in these things that have been so meaningful to them, to remind them of what that experience looked like and how it continues to impact them.
Just a quick follow-up. As I'm thinking about and hearing your response, and I was talking about tracking it and trying to get our arms around that, but to me where that would lead is embedded within what we're doing either through these activities or maybe it's an adjunct to the career, it's separate from career development, is to engage students as they're leaving to think about, have you thought about how you would stay connected with the university as a volunteer or as a mentor or, on the Alumni Association, and how can we help you stay connected to the university post-graduation as well? Because at the end of the day, it's the alumni who are such huge contributors, service and monetarily, to the U, and ambassadors for the U.
AVP Brown?
Yeah, Regent Mayron, Chair Kenyana, Recwell really sees the value of that. We have worked several homecoming events to make sure to cultivate that, bringing people back. We think one of the things that we do very well across all the campus recreation programs is track participation. So we know, and we've worked with UMAA and are talking to them, and this kind of goes more broadly to a co-curricular resume or document that says all the experiences the student has, including their student organization. But we found probably the greatest gains when we see students who are something as innocuous as the captain of an intramural team, certainly as the president of a sport club team. They tend to be very affiliated, and what we've done is become more intentional around hallmark events like homecoming, to bring them back during the parade and say, welcome to your Recwell, and keep that affinity going. We definitely want to continue to cultivate that relationship.
Thank you for that. Regent Mayor, I can attest to that a bit. I think that is starting. UMAA has affinity networks, I think they call it. They're pretty specific. And for UMD, like for example, when I get invited to homecoming, get invited to the student government tailgate, and then we'll get in our student government chat with some of the people. Are you going? Are you going? So, I think that's happening. I imagine part of the challenge is, as Director Elting said, these clubs are open. So you don't always know who's in what. I mean, some people get in the systems you listed, but I think many don't because they're so open, which is how we want them to be. But I think we're moving in that direction. Next, we have Student Representative Aremu.
Thank you, Chair Kenya. And thank you, Assistant Vice Provost Brown and Director Hetzing. Interesting presentation. Mine is just more of a reflection and just one suggestion somewhere. So as a student representative to the Board of Regents, I kind of appreciate how you tied everything to student success, which is the ultimate goal of every student. You would agree with me that no student comes to higher education to fail. And so I would like to say thank you for doing that. I also want to appreciate engaging the undergraduate students through employment to gain relevant skills to help them thrive in the future that they desire. But one piece I was looking for was data on the grad and professional students. Do we have any data about employing them, their engagement? That's one piece. One other thing that resonated with me was when you talked about campus event. Interesting. Chuck and I already talked about homecoming. The last homecoming I attended was a different world for me. I forgot myself. So I would say it's a good thing that helps improve mental health of students and ultimately improve student success. So great piece there. It's nice that you referenced that. The other thing was the fraternity and sorority life that you talked about. It was heavily focused on undergrads, their data for graduate and professional students. And one last piece is the Stop Campus is in Art. So I thought, our university can lead the way in terms of implementation of what's trending in our modern world. Would you consider incorporating AIS in education into orientation training for student organization leaders, faculty advisors, coaches, residential hall staff, something like that? You never know, let's just lead the way. Thank you.
Yeah, so Student Representative Aremu from the Council of Graduate Students would like to know how graduate students have opportunities, and also if we can incorporate hazing education into orientation. Directors?
Sure. Thank you, Chair Kenyanya and Representative Aremu. I can touch on each of those things a little briefly. One is that on the Duluth campus, the vast majority of employment for our graduate and professional students is through their academic program, their graduate assistants, graduate research assistants. We do employ graduate students in sort of student activities. It tends to be at a much lower rate. And so I think that as we are sort of looking at I'll say the kinds of opportunities that we have within our student life or student affairs purview. It depends on the interest of what the graduate students are doing. So we've got some folks who say, yep, I'm happy to be real focused on my program in a master's degree in computer science, and I want to work in the student union, and we've had one of those this year. But a lot of times they're looking for those sort of more program-based pieces. If it's something that you'd like us to lean into, I'm certainly interested in doing it because graduate students bring a different perspective and a broader perspective, I think, to some of this work that would help us, possibly bring more graduate students into our fold. And by that, I mean, we do have an entire sort of category of student organizations that are specifically tied out to our graduate and professional programs. So whether it's our Graduate Students Association or a number of different affinity groups in our professional students, we do get the opportunity to participate a teeny tiny bit in graduate student orientation, to be able to say, we know that you do have a life outside of your classes as well, and we're looking for you to be part of this. We have graduate students in a lot of our cultural groups as well, and then in some of our what we call sort of recreation and hobby groups. And so we, at least at Duluth, we don't have a ton of grad students, but we're trying to bring them in kind of in the best way that we can. To answer your question too, when we look at our slide on fraternity and sorority life was specifically focused on social fraternities and sororities, but we do, both at the Twin Cities campus and at the Duluth campus, have a number of, I'll say dozens of what we call honor and service societies that are specifically focused on graduate students. And so it provides some of that social opportunity, but since it's connected generally to an academic program or to a specific profession, we just categorize them slightly differently. In terms of the Stop Campus Hazing Act, we do already provide anti-hazing information and student organization training, I think on all 5 of our campuses, and so that goes out to student organization leaders, goes out to faculty and staff advisors. I know that there will be information about that in sort of welcome programs. And then so the plan, there's a system-wide group working on implementation of that. And so what that's going to look like kind of at orientation and welcome week and then beyond. And it's some of the beyond that we're trying to figure out what are the other places where we should be putting that together. So a long answer to your question. I apologize for that, but wanted to get that information out there.
Thank you. Do we have 2 more on the speakers list? Very briefly, please.
Okay, that would be very brief. Thank you. So in terms of, you talked about employment for graduate students and professional students. I used to be a master's student, and I actually served as a custodian at the Rockwell Center. It was helpful. Many master's students do not have the opportunity of being funded by their department, especially international students. And so understanding that we have a very reduced number or low numbers of engagement in that realm, then I think we can improve our outreach to those groups. So for example, the School of Public Health and whatever department that has those kind of students, they can include it in their weekly newsletters that there are positions in this place and they can apply. I've not been seeing that lately, but I think it's a good place to look. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Student Representative. Briefly, Regent Tauyurabe, followed by Vice Chair Farnsworth. And now I see Student Representative Smith. Okay, we'll move through it quickly.
Okay, thanks, Chair Kenyanya and speakers. My apologies for running late. I had a couple of questions, and one is maybe I don't have any answers, but I'm curious if there's more data about kind of who participates, because it's hard to think about how to make things work better if we don't know a little bit more about who's using or not using these kinds of services, and what then might be the approach to, get those who are maybe not as engaged or don't see the benefits of the services and things. And then my second question, just quickly, is are you working with kind of outside employers through these programs? It seems like there could be opportunities as well to kind of bring in other employers. I don't know who they are, if it's like gaming companies or, sports companies or things that might also then create linkages for our students. I'm curious to hear if that happens as well.
Directors?
Yes. Regent Tauyurabe and Chair Kenyanya. Yes, to your second question, we do a lot of outside engagement. The more these activities become what I call innovative, like esports, the more you see corporations, the more you see outside entities, particularly in an urban area, speaking specifically to the Twin Cities campus, the more you see that. Health and fitness, third-party companies are prolific. They are cutting edge with their technology. They're putting out quite frankly, artificial intelligence equipment is now absolutely cutting edge, and all of the equipment that we go to the trade shows on, third-party companies are doing that. One of the good things about, I think, all of our campuses is we attend these shows, we attend these conferences, we are plugged in with these individual representatives for these companies. I think during the pandemic, there was just a little retraction, and now I think they're fully back and engaged in higher education departments like ours to do that. So I think that it's a natural for us to work with outside third-party groups and employers who come in and can just value add better for us. And they understand that we're the content experts for things like campus recreation, but they have the product that they want to sort of test drive in our market. So we do a lot of that discussion. As for data, I think we're very fortunate, perhaps a little unique than student unions and activities and rec centers. We do control access through card swipe and card presentation. So we have a wealth of information that we can track. We, during our most recent student service fee, were able to, I think, perhaps almost too much, provided data on everything from race, ethnicity, background, off-campus, on-campus experience. This is really powerful, to your point about tracking, quite frankly, who's not using our facilities. And I think we've been able, the most prominent success I will point to is that it really guided the decision for us to put an outdoor fitness facility right adjacent to the entrance to the super block. And we found out that that absolutely helped to uptick our overall engagement, not just at that outside facility, but people coming to the rec center on the Minneapolis campus as a result of that experience. So you're absolutely right. Data unlocks so many powerful things, and we are very fortunate to have quite a bit of field data that we can pull from to make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Regent Tayurabe. Vice Chair Farnsworth.
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya, and thank you, presenters. I just wanted to kind of ask a question related to data in terms of participation and overall participation in our programs. I think you mentioned some numbers around Greek life, fraternity and sorority, which was great to hear. But I know there's a crisis in joining right now. There's a Netflix documentary about this topic right now, how people are joining less things, particularly younger people. And I work in youth and teen and into college civic engagement. So it's always a topic on my mind as well. And it occurred to me as we were going to be talking about student activities and particularly the kind of the registered student organization club side of things, how our overall numbers are looking in that regard. So that's just an observation and question, but really appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, Vice Chair Farnsworth. Student Representative Smith.
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya. I just very briefly wanted to echo one component of Student Representative Arimu's question and comment around student employment. I believe the presenters were saying that the rates for graduate and professional students are often lower than when compared to the undergraduate students, but just I'd like to highlight that if a department, let's say in Duluth, has only a handful of graduate students and they're all employed, that's a 100% employment rate, right? And so I guess as a proportion of the number of students in each respective school and campus, it could be significant. And so that would be something that would be interesting to have included in the future. But thank you. It was a very nice presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Student Representative Smith. I'm learning as chair, I should go first so I don't look like I'm the one making us late. But I'll wrap it up just briefly, maybe with an observation and then a final question. I guess one is the observation, or maybe just sharing how I think of it, maybe from a governance side, and I think it may be similar as you all. You talked about, Director Eltink, you said for students, by students, right? And I think that really is, that this is really student-owned and led. Then I imagine the university's role is parameters, right? How do we make sure these are all welcoming and safe places in every sense of those words, that they're successful? The nature of student turnover, sometimes these clubs kind of get lost in that. I saw that happen. Fiscal responsibility and SSF process is different on each campus, but it is student-led and it is rigorous. You do have to come show what did you do last year. So those are the questions I think about, like how we provide those, and that may be for a future presentation. And then my question, we saw that, so many, 930 clubs on the Twin Cities campus and many clubs on all the other campuses. We have rec sports. We talked about how some students' main affinity group is their academic unit. They're certainly at the graduate level, but even undergraduate. We used to go to happy hour with Professor Sung Lee after class. Some people, it's their housing unit. It could be the honors. It could be where you're employed, presidential PES on the Twin Cities campus. There's so many things that could be your home. When you look at all that and all the availabilities, but then through surveys, but then just talking to students, anecdotal, you still find there's a lot of students who are like, I don't belong here. I don't have a place. I haven't found my community. As folks who work and have worked on this for so long, how do you then reconcile, like, what do you imagine the gap is? And I know, we're not gonna have 100% success rate. But when you see that wide offering and then you see there's still a gap, where does your mind go? Either one.
Regent Kenyanya, I think that is maybe one of the most perplexing questions we ask ourselves a lot, because our data shows that we are growing. We're growing at the margin with more graduate student engagement, and we're seeing a much greater international student population engagement in our facilities and our programs. And yet we see the same data as you do, that there seems to be a disconnect there. I think there can be sometimes a little bit of I go and I do these things, but I haven't made the connection that is belonging. It is almost transactional. And I think where we need to probably push the envelope, quite frankly, is to be more intentional about transformation. That by virtue of these offerings, and I think this is where, at least in rec centers, and I certainly let Jenny speak to student unions, we need to really accentuate beyond this is just about your body. This is much more than your heart rate acceleration or your blood pressure improvement or your weight management. This is about building community. I will just say in closing on that, we learned a valuable lesson during COVID. People were not clamoring for rec centers to reopen because they necessarily needed to get muscle mass back. They wanted to be in a place where other people were. So I think we doubled down on sense of community and social well-being. I think at the margin we'll see belonging tick up when people connect those things. That, from the recreational lens, that's my impression.
Yeah, thank you both. We could go on for a while, but we did need to move on. Thank you so much for the presentation and for the work. And I'm sure we can submit follow-up questions, and we'll bring this to agenda again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we will move to agenda item 2, career preparation and outcomes. This is also for discussion, and I do apologize for truncating this item a little bit, but we will give it proper attention. Vice President Phillips, would you like to introduce this one as well?
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya, and Vice Chair Farnsworth, and members of the committee. The next topic will provide an overview of the amazing work that is happening across the system in the areas of student career preparation. As we think of systemness as an institutional value, these efforts are highlight just that. Today's presentation will share an overview of extensive offerings that are on our campuses to provide students the developing their career readiness skills. These offerings reflect new modern thinking about career development where opportunities are embedded into the ecosystem. We'll also share with you results from our postgraduate outcomes survey, which you may recall was a key measurement from the Impact 2025 strategic plan. Lastly, you'll hear about what's next on the horizon for our system-wide career development efforts. We're looking at new and creative ways to engage with employers and provide experiential opportunities for all students. We continue to listen to student feedback, like that was shared by the student representatives in the Board of Regents meeting in March, to inform our current and future work. Joining me in this presentation are Jill Kolozinski, hope I pronounced that right. Did I get it? Oh, gosh. Can you please pronounce your name, Saga?
Kolodny.
Klosny, jeez. Director of the Career Services at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and Sarah Newberg, Executive Director of Career Service Administration here on the Twin Cities campus. With that introduction, I'd like to turn it over to Joe.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Vice President Phillips, Chair Kenyanya, Vice Chair Farnsworth, and members of the committee. Today, we will be sharing with you about how the U of M system career offices support undergraduate and graduate student success and outcomes, our current structure, some system-wide success stories, latest trends we are seeing, and then end with about 20 minutes for your questions. So let's begin by acknowledging all of our system-wide career centers. Our 4 system career centers report to in Crookston, Academic Affairs, in Duluth, Student Life with a dotted line to Academic Affairs, in Morris, Academic Affairs, and in Rochester, Academic Affairs and Innovation. Similar to our system career centers, Twin Cities offices reporting structures vary. Mostly these offices report to Academic Affairs. In Pre-Health Student Resource Center, they report to Health Services, and in Career and Internship Services, they report to Career Service Administration. All our system-wide offices provide direct service to our students in their units. This allows for the flexibility to tailor and address local needs. A strength the U of M system has is our Career Services Administration office. CSA is our career hub that curates and connects resources for system-wide use and leads our collaboration in providing services to our 55,000 students. Some highlighted centralized shared services include Handshake, which is the #1 place for all U of M students and alumni to find opportunities, connect with employers, and build connections with peers, as well as find career fairs and employer events, and some offices use it for internship participation data. I also wanted to note that UMN is unique among our peers because we are the only ones who share a single instance of Handshake, which is a cost savings effort. Another centralized shared service is our post-graduation survey, but I will let Sarah go more into that later in the presentation. I know myself and other directors are really appreciative of the CSA's spearheading initiatives beyond the scope of our career centers. For example, one of our unique things is the university-wide University of Minnesota Job and Internship Fair. We call it UMJF, plus our career fair collaboration. What happens annually is our staff from all of the U of M career offices come together, volunteer, and serve on work groups to host the UMJF for all majors, all campuses, all students, and recent grads. As a result of this collaboration, during the pandemic, we expanded this to also include virtual fairs to allow students system-wide to attend any fair. Now we also expanded that to on-campus career fairs too. Another initiative is Work Plus. It's a pilot program for student employment with a supervisory framework focused on increasing career readiness through goal setting, reflection, and feedback. And the last item I'd like to highlight is Salesforce Customer Relationship Management Software, where we are trying to be the face of one U of M to our employers externally. And internally, we're hoping to share our employer contacts and track our engagement across the system with employers. Additionally, CSA serves as our U of M main point of contact for internal and external career-related questions. Our offices connect undergraduate and graduate students with resources to support their career preparation. These include online 24/7 on-demand resources, such as international student resources, what can I do with this major, going global, Canvas courses, tailored job feeds, and more, as well as individualized interactions, such as career one-on-one appointments that might cover career and major exploration, graduate school preparation and application, internship search tips, and interviewing practice. We also provide connections to local, regional, and national employers via employer panels and other employer events. We are expanding and embedding resources into our career ecosystem through career courses and student employment.
In addition to the direct student support that Jill was just describing, high-impact practices play a major role in preparing our students for the workplace. Experiential learning is an educational strategy that amplifies experiences through reflection to intensify your learning. Among high-impact practices, internships are especially important as they provide a chance to test out career choices and build career-specific skills and professional networks. We would like to do more to help students access these experiences, but there are a few challenges. While over 4,500 Minnesota-based internships were posted for our students last year, they were not well distributed across students' career interests. We also have concerns occasionally about the quality of experiences, especially when they're arranged independently by students with new internship host sites. Most importantly, many students struggle to fit an internship into their schedules or budgets, especially when they must give up ongoing or better paid jobs. We'll return to this topic at the end to consider solutions to these issues. Let's move on now to our career outcomes of our students. The university is one of the few among our peers that conducts a system-wide survey of our graduates. Students begin receiving the survey before graduation with reminders throughout the first year. For the class of 22-23, we obtained information from 75% of our graduates. Our first slide highlights salary outcomes and internship participation. You'll see that the median salary for our graduates is $55,000. One area of particular concern is the salary gap with our first-generation students. So we are working to address this, including recommendations we will share today. Turning our attention to internships, 64% of our graduates reported they had completed an internship, with 87% of those reporting that the internship was paid. More good news is that 41% of our interns received job offers at the end of their internships. Next, let's look at the outcomes of our graduates. We follow guidelines that define career success outcomes as when a graduate is employed, continuing their education in the military, or participating in structured volunteer roles such as Teach for America. You'll see that our career success outcome rate was 92.5%. Our goal in the Impact 25 strategic plan was to exceed national outcomes by 6%, and we have succeeded in reaching that goal every year since the plan was developed. A limitation of this metric is that it does not reflect career satisfaction, so last year we added a question about relatedness to career goals. We are pleased to report that 91% of our employed graduates are working in positions related to or a stepping stone to their career goals. Finally, you'll see from this list of our top 10 employers that our graduates are well represented across the spectrum of major Minnesota employers. In fact, the class of 2023 is represented in every Fortune 500 company in Minnesota. Over the last 4 years, our graduates have reported employment with 183 of the national Fortune 500 companies.
Next, I wanted to pause to take a moment to frame how we got here. To give you context on the evolution of career services, Cruz Vergara's and Day's graphic here quickly highlights the eras. From 1900 to the 20s, it was about vocational guidance, focusing on the immigrants coming into our country. From the 20s to 40s, it was about teacher guidance because we needed to increase our teachers, like the Duluth Normal School and state teacher colleges across the state. From the 40s to the 70s, it was focused on job placement with the veterans and the GI Bill. In our last 3 eras, we focus on students and graduates and their career education and connections through career counseling, professional networking, and connected communities. To better visualize what these student-focused eras look like in practice that we are currently working with, we're using the best of each one. In the career counselor era, it's the individual coaching and workshops. In the career services era, where we introduced employer engagement staff, includes career fairs, networking events, and employer panels, as well as online tools and resources. And then in the ecosystem era, as that we're merging into, it evolved into career and internship courses and embedded career education in places like student employment. And now for some ecosystem success stories. 4 examples from across the University of Minnesota system. In Crookston, the career staff are asking faculty to consider the question, what if our students reflected on how your course applies to their life and career? This is the first step to integrate career learning outcomes and activities that students and faculty already do. The majority of majors require students to complete an internship that is embedded into the educational experience. In the College of Education and Human Development on the Twin Cities campus, staff collaborate with faculty and staff to embed career education through Canvas modules, classroom activities, monthly email updates, and consultations with career staff to make it easy to include career preparation in course and student interactions. In Rochester, first-year students take 2 required career and personal development courses, which ask each student to apply for career-related experiences. Ongoing support is provided by UMR's Success Coach team and through the new hub space for students. Students on average meet 2.5 times each term with their team, as well as needed on a drop-in basis about work study, internships, off-campus research, study abroad, and other experience-building opportunities. And the Career Readiness Initiative in the College of Liberal Arts Twin Cities impacts the entirety of the undergraduate experience by embedding core competencies such as communication and problem solving in course instruction. In addition, students complete required career management courses and receive support through innovative online tools that push resources to them based on their unique needs and interests. This national award-winning program has helped thousands of graduates articulate their liberal arts advantage to employers and graduate schools. Balancing stakeholder needs. Our career offices balance the short and long-term needs of our stakeholders. We consider what we can offer with our constraints on time, staffing, and budget, the ever-evolving and changing student needs, as well as legislative, employer, and community needs based on the current economic and workforce conditions. We accomplish this through leveraging tools and shared resources, partnerships, collaborations, and sponsorships with internal and external partners, as well as data collection and analysis.
Jill just described a few of many examples across the university in which career centers are leaning into the career ecosystem, which challenges us to provide every student comprehensive career education. Every student who invests time, money, and emotional energy in earning a U of M degree deserves our commitment to this goal. The video produced by our student representatives in March underscored this message as students throughout the system described their experiences. We were pleased that their recommendations align with the priorities established by career system leaders as well. So here are our suggestions to take career support to the next level. Oh, I'm there. One of the recommendations from our students was to increase career staffing for personalized advice in career areas and increase mentoring opportunities. We agree that career staffing is a concern. The student career counselor ratio varies widely across the system. While we would advocate for additional staffing in underserved units, we also are exploring efficiencies through contract career staff during busy periods, especially for our smaller units. We are also testing ways to maximize the time of our career counselors by using new AI tools for resume reviews and interview feedback. This would free up one-on-one appointments for more complex conversations with career counselors, such as how to revise a career plan that is needing to change. We must also find ways to embed career support through existing activities. For example, we know that students often turn to faculty for career advice, so we're currently developing a career champion program to train and provide resources for interested faculty, as well as alumni mentors, student employment supervisors, advisors, and anyone who is interested in supporting their students' career development. An important step in providing comprehensive career education is developing career learning outcomes to guide course curricula, online content, and resources, so that we're giving consistent messages across the system. This slide shows our draft outcomes that would guide students to develop a career plan, build networks, develop both broad competencies and career-related skills, and communicate their abilities to employers or graduate schools. The next step is to identify touch points for delivery and assessment of the student progress. The second recommendation we heard from the student representatives was to expand workshops and guest lectures, boost networking opportunities, and increase access to fairs for all campuses. While our decentralized structure allows us to tailor our services, it poses challenges for employers who wish to engage with students across college boundaries. In a recent survey, 74% of our employers indicated that they would like to hire students from across the university regardless of college or campus. As our student representatives pointed out, opportunities for students are limited when employers must choose from multiple entry points. So over the last 4 months, a task group of career leaders has been exploring opportunities to address these issues. Their report will come out shortly and recommend central support for employers to navigate our system and increase outreach to industry groups within the state. While the recommendations will likely require modest investment, they have potential to improve student outcomes when combined with the student-focused activities we described earlier. Returning to the topic of experiential learning, we know students face a number of barriers to internship participation related to time and cost. We continue to advocate to raise funds in support of students undertaking low-paid or unpaid internships, which are very common in some fields. Another strategy to reach more students would be to broaden the range of experiences available to students, especially those embedded in existing activities, such as student employment and classroom activities. One example is the Department of Food Science and Nutrition on the Twin Cities campus, where faculty have collaborated with our committed alumni in industry to integrate real-world projects to serve as the focus of the course. Students are mentored by participating alumni, develop project management, teamwork, and problem-solving skills, and have the opportunity to explore career fields they would never have otherwise encountered. To close, I would like to share a story that illustrates why this work matters. When I reflected on students I've worked with directly over my years in direct practice while I was in a career center, many examples came to mind of seniors arriving at my office unprepared and anxious about their future. For these students, career preparation had been promoted actively to them, but it seemed that those who most needed it were least likely to opt in on our programs and services. So to end on a positive note, here's an example of a time the system worked. James, which is not his real name, of course, was a student that I knew when I was the Director of Career and Internship Services in St. Paul. His career counselor got to know him when she was teaching the Career and Internship Preparation course, which was required in his major. James was a first-generation student with natural leadership skills and ambition, but he was also a little rough and around the edges. One of the course assignments was to attend the fall career fair, where he landed a few interviews for internships. When the first interview did not go well, James returned to the career counselor very upset with himself, feeling he didn't belong in college, and actually threatened to go back to his hometown and become a janitor. His career counselor, understanding the dynamics of self-sabotage, responded with just the right combination of challenge and support. Ultimately, James went ahead with his other interviews, and no surprise to us, he landed a plum internship with a large agricultural company and received a job offer at the end of his internship. The following year, he was back on campus, this time on the other side of the table at the career fair, helping his company recruit the next class of interns. This story illustrates why our work matters. James was retained, persisted to graduation, and with support, overcame the anxiety that can impact mental health and derail career goals. His investment in college resulted in upward mobility, and our investment in him shaped him into a contributing member of the community. Too often, career preparation is framed as a cost to the educational experience, but we see the two as inextricably linked and mutually beneficial. Hopefully, this presentation helps envision a university where students can pursue their intellectual passions while preparing to pursue their life ambitions. This concludes our presentation. Chair Kenyanya, Vice Chair Farnsworth, and members of the committee. We've provided questions to guide our discussion as seen on the slide, but we also welcome your questions and comments.
Thank you, Directors Newberg and Kolodzny, for the presentation and the discussion. Turning to discussion, I'll be happy to start it while my colleagues gather their thoughts. On any given, outside of the actual majors and academic units, any given discussion, we're inevitably going to have should we let it happen where it happens, or how much do we want to centralize this thing, whether we're talking just about anything, right? It sounds like you all have kind of landed in a good spot where centrally you're looking to coordinate, or facilitate. I mean, kind of the merging of the systems you talk about, the CRM from Salesforce having that one unified face. You talked about who owns the employee relationships, employer relationships, trying to share those a little bit. I think 3M was the #1 employer on that list. And engineering has a reason why they might claim that that's ours, but I think if we dig in, we'll find there's a lot of accountants, there's a lot of graphic design majors hired there, a lot of liberal arts graduates hired there as well. So, it seems like the employers have kind of become more open-minded and realize that they need talent from all across the university, and it sounds like you're working to support that as well. So I was pleased to hear about that as well, and I think there's good reasons. I know in some areas, law, for example, it matters to their rankings how many career folks they can say are in the unit and that ratio. So, I mean, I think there's good reasons to keep them where they are. But I'm glad that those opportunities are open. I think in our prep call earlier, we had that discussion about the job fairs, how those are opened. I think I shared with Calvin, I snuck into some job fairs I wasn't invited to then, but now they're all open invites. So I'm glad that I was a trendsetter, really, if you think about it. So, and now turning to a question, when you talked about unpaid internships, kind of rung a bell for me. I was a business major. I didn't know those existed for a while until I started talking to some of my other friends. I'm like, what do you mean, unpaid internships? Internships are very valuable. I did several, but it doesn't always sit right to me in any circumstance I know you're learning a lot, but that your time is not worth something, for this time. And then also, there's probably just bad internships and jobs out there, right? What's the role of the university and career services in kind of protecting students from those and making sure we're getting that continuous feedback and steering students to the right ones? Another thing that's happened is the cycle has moved up so aggressively. I think internship offers are being made in October. At my company, I have students and friends who reach out. I'm like, you're way too late, I know some universities and some disciplines put a limit and say, so when students get return offers, sometimes they have a month to answer. Some schools are like, no, you can't recruit here if you're only going to give our students a month. I mean, how do we kind of protect students and kind of be that barrier from some of the things happening out there?
Well, I'll start and Jill can jump in. One way is that we want to work with the students so that we can help coach them as they're navigating internship choices that they're working on. And so part of that is just pushing out materials to students, and part of it is just what we're talking about here is how do we reach students with that kind of information. I think as it suggested here, the greater concern is when it's a new host site, and it's often not negligence. They just don't realize how much work it is to have an intern the first time through. So often those are the situations that can be kind of difficult. When we do hear about internship sites that are problematic and aren't fixing problems that they should know about or that we've talked to them about, we do take action to restrict their access to our job posting system. So that's one line for the thoughts.
Director Kolodny.
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya. I would add that it's about setting employer expectations and having those conversations all along and with them, and having a structure of check-ins with our internship partners. A lot of majors have internship prep courses at UMD, so that helps set the students up for success. And then we work in coordination with those academic units when there are challenges, like how to best handle that. So I think that's the only additional comments.
Thank you. Student Representative, starting with Regent Talurabi.
Oh, thanks, Chair.
They get paid more, actually, so I was promoting you, the student representatives. Yes.
Oh, really? I'm going to go do that. Thanks for the presentation and the questions. I think one of the things that I often hear from legislators is really about the perception of about whether higher ed is as valuable as it used to be and sort of for whom, right? So I think, I mean, even on this point that you made about just the post-graduation survey and the salaries, like that's a little disheartening just to see that number by itself without seeing the trend lines. We know over time, those who have degrees do better overall, and I think it's always important to kind of remind people that that is still true and not just sort of like immediately what is the starting salary and things like that, because I think that that's sometimes creates that perception that it's not as valuable, right? People could just still go to some job, manufacturing job, and get maybe the same pay. So I just want us to be a little bit kind of mindful about how to situate that data to also show that. And then and then I think the other thing that I'm curious about is just how we maybe support employers, and not necessarily the big employers who can maybe afford to do these internship opportunities, but maybe smaller employers who could actually create more internship opportunities, but maybe need some of that support in order for them to be better employers who can provide internship opportunities that both are paid and also so that they are good host for the students, because I worked in the nonprofit sector for a long time and hosted students, and I was always grateful when people worked closely with me to say this is what students require and all of those things. And we did always try our very best to make sure these were paid internship opportunities and things like that. So I just think thinking through that a little bit might be helpful. And then my last point is also about, is there opportunities for us to create a kind of mentorship ecosystem that really taps into our graduates? I know that probably at smaller universities, sometimes it's easier because, the pool isn't as big, right? But also here we have, the great thing is we have such a great pool and we have the Alumni Association, but I think there might be technology tools, whether it's LinkedIn, like could we foster a better kind of community there, or is it our own application that allows for people to find each other in ways that and offer mentorship that would be helpful to our students as they think about careers? So I'm just I'm sure you've thought through these things, but I'm curious to know, are we using technology in a way that really helps to facilitate those connections? Are we thinking about working with employers to create conditions that help these internships be useful, right? And ultimately situate our data and with a long view in mind, yeah.
Thank you, Regent Tayurabi, directors.
Thank you, Regent Tawarabi and Chair Kenyanya. I'll tackle a couple and I'll let Jill jump in again. I think Jill just mentioned the number of internship courses at Duluth, and this is true elsewhere across the system. And I think that's a really important trend, I think, that we're seeing, where there are an increasing number of departments that are, one way or another, teaching students either the career preparation or the internship reflection courses. So that provides some structure, and it also provides a point of contact so that if there are any problems or concerns in the internship, there's a point person and someone to work with on that. We also have a large number of students who navigate internships just independently on their own. So we kind of have to manage both of those situations. Among the recommendations that are coming out with the employer engagement task group are suggestions to do things like have one-pagers for new internship sites, onboarding information, how to write an inclusive job description, a lot of support that employers would be able to just follow as they're creating new opportunities. The other idea would be to do some webinars, helping employers connect with each other and learn from each other, and then also thereby being connected with us so we're more familiar with who's out there. So for our small and medium sites, we think those kinds of approaches might be helpful, along with just continuing to realize that we need to support financially. A lot of our nonprofits simply just aren't in a place to pay their interns. The other thing I just want to mention about your questions about mentorship and working with alumni, there is a Maroon and Gold Network system, which the Alumni Society provides for all students. And so it's very simple for students to go into that system and find people to network with. And we support that system through our career courses, often requiring or weaving that into an assignment that students go into the system, identify people who are in their field, and then ultimately most of the courses have a requirement to do an informational interview with someone. So that's one way we reinforce that mentoring, but there are also formal mentoring programs in a number of our colleges. Students apply, mentors, usually our alumni apply, and they're matched, and they go through a one-year program together. So those are a couple other ways that we're reinforcing mentoring.
Okay. Please proceed. We're short on time, but I want to get to everyone.
Okay, I'll just make my comments quick. There are initiatives, for instance, at UMD with the College of Arts, Humanities, Social Sciences, some fundraising efforts to booster scholarships for unpaid or underpaid internships. The Maroon and Gold Network also has mini projects that system-wide people can apply for, and if they are not paid, then they also have scholarships system-wide students can apply for. And we have a mentoring program at UMD, and we bring and coordinate with the Alumni Relations Office, and they come and have a lunch here at the UMJF fair. So then they're also their mentor is bringing them through the fair to like, have you met? Or like showing them how to do it. So it's pretty awesome.
Oh, nice. Yeah, brief follow-up as we move to Student Representative Ramu. The Maroon and Gold Network from UMAA, is that a functionality? I'm not asking you to say whether it should, but could that be incorporated into Handshake? Is there a little duplication there? It kind of sounds like to me.
That's a really good question, and I should have mentioned Handshake is really leaning into peer mentoring, so students can connect with each other about opportunities they see on Handshake. I don't know of a way that it's connecting with alumni necessarily, so it's a good question whether there might be some ways to integrate them. They're not currently integrated.
Yeah.
We are trying to integrate all of those kinds of resources centrally on a UConnect-powered website that's under development in CSA as well.
Thank you. Student Representative Ramu, followed by Smith.
All right. Thank you, Chair Kenyanya. Permit me to address you by your first name, Sarah and Jill. Thank you for that fantastic presentation. Permit me to speak like a student that I am. Thanks for doing the Lord's work at the Careers Services Administration. You did a good job in referencing student success, our presentation on how to improve student engagement during their time here and after. And then the idea on the career champion was a great one. You kind of shared data, undergraduate data in terms of where they're employed. Would it be possible to also share data for grad and professional students as well, where they're employed after graduation? You talked about funds for unpaid students interns in startups and small businesses. That's a great one. However, I would like to also touch the 13% of students those who actually received the unpaid internship, just to re-echo what Chair Kenyanya also said earlier. That means you're saying, for me, from my experience, I would say 9 of 10 of those who I know, who are mostly international students during their masters, got unpaid internship. And so would you consider ways to improve experience of these minute disadvantaged student groups via externship? I'll explain further. Just 1 more minute and I'll be done. For example, I know international students have limited opportunities, and I know you're working closely with the Alumni Association. And so through the Alumni Association, would it be possible to reach out to international students who have graduated to contribute some funds to support stipends for this group of students. When I graduate, when I become gainfully employed, of course I can be reached out to and I'll be willing to support that way. So, but this fund should go to this group of students to support them because they still have to pay for what have you. And then one last idea I have is, can we expand shadowing opportunities beyond the healthcare admin and business learners or enthusiasts? One thing I've mentioned in some places is, can we have a curriculum that requires students, graduate students, professional students, undergraduate students to go shadow someone based on what their career goals are? I mean, it could just be a month and they write a report. That shadowing alone helps build that connection, that interaction that can help them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Student Representative. On the record, Student Representative Aremu just pledged a donation. When he's employed. I think we all heard that. But good questions around unpaid internships. I know you mentioned what's happening at UMD, but is there support overall for specifically international graduate students? And then shadowing opportunities, which could be an unpaid internship. So you're conflicting yourself, but I'll turn it over.
Want to lead that up for you, Shad?
Rock, paper, scissors?
Yes. Currently the internship support is available at the college level. I can't speak to exactly if there's criteria that's open to all grad students, all international students. I believe it is, but some colleges have really leaned into fundraising for internship support. We are advocating that we do more of that centrally so that there's funding available across the institution and that it's not unevenly distributed out in the colleges. But yes, that's an area that we would like to do more work in. As far as shadowing, I think what the career courses typically recommend is informational interviewing initially, but often that leads to a shadowing experience. We certainly talk about the value of shadowing as well. Sometimes the first step is to have that introductory meeting, get to know each other, and then other opportunities can come from that, whether that's shadowing or even internship opportunities.
Thank you. And to close us out, Student Representative Smith.
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya. And I'd also like to thank the presenters both for this presentation and for considering our student representative report and our recommendations. One comment and then one question. So I wanted to also talk about a little bit about the unpaid internships. I think, and I'm sure that this has been a conversation that that has happened within the Career Services Administration for a bit, but the connection between unpaid internships and like the gap that was mentioned in this presentation about first generation salary gap. I think that unpaid internships oftentimes, on the face of it, obviously is unfair in general. But when some students have the ability to take on those unpaid internships because they have support from family or connections or whatever it may be, while other students who may lack the resources to be able to take on an unpaid internship, I think can significantly, in my experience, what I've seen and what I've heard from others has like a big impact on that. So I know like financial aid and need-based questions gets really complicated, and it's difficult to kind of suss out exactly who would be who would qualify for like a need-based funding opportunity, but I think that would be ideally something that would be available one way or another. My question, I guess, is there, we talked a bit today about the access for other campuses for career fairs and how they're opened up more. There was one student in our process for outreach for our video who made I think an interesting suggestion. I think he was from the Kirsten campus. He felt like because of the campus he was currently on, that he would like to access the career specific advising resources that aren't available to him at that campus. And so I'm wondering if there's any process either in place or in development or consideration for students to be able to access things like pre-health advising or other more specific career-based advising that is available on other campuses.
Thank you, Representative Smith. Directors?
Thank you, Chair Kenyanya and Representative Smith. Just recently, there's been a collaborative position with pre-health advising and the College of, Swenson's College of Science and Engineering at UMD. So we have a shared advising role that does do that pre-health advising. The pre-health advising is, though, for all majors, not just Swenson Science at UMD. So that is a brand new thing that is in the making. I think our person has been around for 3 weeks. So it's a great step, and I think that would be a fantastic thing to expand throughout the UM system and other areas for, if it was Kirkston, I believe he said.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for the lively discussions, both of them. Fortunately, we're out of Regent Davenport's here, so we must be late. But no, I mean, it's a good discussion. It's been informative. I think we've seen some interest in some areas, obviously the unpaid, but also, I mean, I've learned, you made good points that it's not easy to host an intern. It's not simple. I mean, actually, the more I think about it, it's teaching. And I think everyone here can appreciate that teaching is not inherently just intuitive or simple. So we do appreciate our employer partners and everything that you do to support both the students and the employers, and hope this discussion will be ongoing. So Director Newberg, Director Kolodny, thank you for your work and for the presentation.
Thank you.
There being no other business on the agenda, this committee is now adjourned.
Great question.